Look, with 2 own goals in the first half, becoming the crucial moments in this game. It started so brightly for Leicester. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall scoring his 2nd of the season after just 4 minutes at the Kop end of the ground after some great work by Patson Daka and by Harvey Barnes. Dewsbury-Hall parting the Liverpool midfield and defence and scoring nicely into the bottom corner. But then Wout Faes scored the first own goal on 37 minutes, a ball in from the right. Maybe poor communication between he and goalkeeper Danny Ward. He sliced it up into the air and agonisingly it's dropped into the back of the net. Then right on half time, Núñez was sent clear, one-on-one with Ward, chipped it over the Leicester keeper, came back off the post, and Wout Faes, facing his own goal, has slammed it into the top corner, couldn't adjust his body quick enough. Second half, Leicester certainly had some opportunities, and maybe but for a better final ball or better decision making, could have got that equaliser. Having said that, Liverpool had some gilt-edged chances themselves through Henderson and Salah and from Núñez, but it does end here at Anfield with Liverpool taking the points by 2-1. And Jerry Taggart has watched on throughout tonight. There's certainly some positives to take, Tags, but ultimately it's defeat here at Anfield.
Yeah, really frustrating. You know, a really good performance as well. A bit more like what we've come to expect from Leicester, considering the performance on Boxing Day against Newcastle. That was a bit more like it. You know, it's not often you lose a game of football and the opposition don't score a goal, but that's what's happened tonight. And we can mull over it, you can speak about it for as long as you want, pull it apart as many times as you want. But it's 2 proper own goals that have given Liverpool the win. 1 or 2 missed opportunities in the second half, like you said, John, where for me, a bit more care on the ball. Leicester are back in the game at least. Yes, Liverpool had 1 or 2 chances themselves, and they'll be disappointed that they didn't convert at least one of those. But Leicester, you know, at times were a real threat tonight and just couldn't take advantage. So, you know, obviously the positives: Dewsbury on the score sheet, good performance, solid performance from the majority of players tonight, and poor old Wout Faes. You know, things just sort of go from bad to worse at the minute over the Christmas period. Let's hope things look up for him in the new year.
Leicester players have saluted the travelling fans who have done the same in reverse as they've headed down the tunnel. One more task for you, Jerry, before we bring in the lads back at the LCFC radio studio. Is your Leicester City man of the match this evening?
Yeah, difficult one really. You know, some good performance. Harvey Barnes, I thought, you know, as much in the second half. Alexander Arnold, as you said, probably got the better of him. I thought in the first half, really productive. Luke Thomas as well, I thought was excellent tonight at the back. Left back coming up against Mo Salah, you know, and played really well for me. Defended really well tonight. Again, after having a tough game on Boxing Day against Newcastle, and you know, I suppose you got one man that sort of stood out for me is the guy who got himself on the score sheet tonight, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, back to his best. Yes, he miscontrolled the ball at times, but again, that endeavour, that willingness to drive the team forward, and then, you know, obviously getting the goal to put Leicester in lead, which ultimately they couldn't hang on to. So I'll give it to Dewsbury-Hall tonight.
As the lights and the noise start to dim here at Anfield, we can bring in the team back at the LCFC radio studio. Full time here, Liverpool 2, Leicester 1.
Thanks, John. John Dunn and Jerry Taggart on commentary duties for us at Anfield tonight. Of course, desperately disappointing evening. We'll be analysing this game for you over the next half an hour or so. We will bring Jerry back in for some more of his thoughts as we go through the evening. Just to let you know, elsewhere tonight it was West Ham against Brentford in the Premier League. It finished West Ham 0, Brentford 2. Ivan Toney and Josh Da Silva on the score sheet, but Brentford did lose Ivan Toney, stretchered off just towards the end of that game. Could be a big blow for them after his exceptional performances this season. In terms of tonight's game and the table, for Liverpool, they're now 2 points off the Premier League top 4 on 28 points, still sitting in 6th. For Leicester in 13th, remaining on 17 points. Matt, Ewan, really tough night. We said earlier, going to Anfield and getting a win is a rarity for Leicester City. Tonight when you're watching that game, you're thinking, that was a good opportunity, because Liverpool were not the Liverpool you expect.
No, that's right. Yeah, definitely. There's a feeling of opportunity missed, isn't there? Everyone knows the home record at Anfield, particularly in the Premier League, over recent seasons has been incredible. Goes long stretches of games unbeaten. But tonight, you wouldn't have thought so. If that was your first time watching Liverpool at home, they weren't particularly impressive, were they? They were sluggish in areas, loose, and even when they had the advantage, in the second half, they looked threatening a couple of times early on. But Leicester sort of weathered any sort of storm really, and came stronger and stronger really. And opportunities were there, and situations were there, but just not quite enough to capitalise on them. When on another day possibly they would, but certainly a marked improvement from Boxing Day performance without any shadow of a doubt. So encouragement there from that point of view, but it's equalled by the frustration, isn't it? Not just the manner of conceding the goals, 2 own goals from Wout Faes that we obviously know about by now, and I'm sure we'll look at. But just generally, Liverpool were not at their best, and Leicester played reasonably well. I didn't think they were amazing. Leicester have got more in their locker, as far as I'm concerned. But if they had produced the top of the game, they would have got something out of this without any shadow of a doubt. But frustrating. But all said and done, no points gained in 2 games, so makes the next game even more important, doesn't it?
Yeah, you saw at full time, Jerry, he named Keenan Dewsbury Hall as man of the match, and the camera showed Dewsbury Hall almost with a realisation as the full time whistle went. It was kind of hands on his head, thinking that was, as Matt said, opportunity missed. It was a game of a lot of errors. It was I've not seen a Premier League game like that for so long, where the ball just kept being given away by both sides, but Leicester failing to capitalise, especially in that second half, on any opportunities that came their way.
Yeah, I think both teams were guilty of sloppy play, trying to play out of their own penalty box in their own final third, giving it away. But neither side sort of capitalised on those individual errors, those poor passes, those stray passes that happened. I noticed Keenan Dewsbury Hall at half time when both teams were walking off there down the tunnel. He was just shaking his head. He just couldn't believe what he just witnessed, what had just happened with the 2 own goals. I look at it like this, Lewis. Boxing Day wasn't acceptable by any stretch of the imagination. Leicester were miles off it against Newcastle and got thoroughly beaten up by Newcastle. Tonight, that's more like it. Yeah, they've got nothing from the game, but fans they'll forgive mistakes. They'll forgive missed chances. They'll forgive Wout Faes because he doesn't mean to score 2 own goals. But they've seen their team give it everything tonight. Desire, work rate, defensively sound for long periods of the game, creating opportunities. 2 great opportunities in the second half to get back on level terms. One for Harvey Barnes, which we see him do on so many occasions when he cuts in from that left-hand side, and he normally scores with a right-footed shot. The header from Dewsbury Hall, he'll be disappointed that he didn't get his second of the night. But if you're going to lose, and that's one thing that you're guaranteed in any football game, that's the way to lose, when you've given it absolutely everything and you've gone toe-to-toe with a very, very good... But sadly, you've not come away with anything.
Just seeing some of your comments coming through on Facebook. Please do keep them coming. I'll put as many questions to the boys tonight as I can. Saren's been in touch saying some good play tonight. Players looked like they wanted the ball in this match, and that certainly was a case at times, but it seemed to get to a certain area and Leicester still had that slight anxiety of, okay, how are we going to finish off this move?
Yeah, always a problem, isn't it? Getting over that final hurdle, if you like. Didn't convince too much really in front of goal. Didn't cause Alisson to work enough throughout the course of the evening, considering the situations they did have. But I thought they mixed it up quite well in their general play. You mentioned there at half time, Leicester dropping deep at times, but then and also on occasion playing out from the back when they weren't being pressed too severely by Liverpool, because Liverpool were off their game in that respect also. So they put together some nice sequences of passes, but also picked and chose the right time to perhaps go a little bit from back to front, into the front man, or even further into channels sometimes, over the top, and there was variety to their play, and that got Liverpool thinking. I think it put them out of their stride a little bit, and as a result, Leicester got a bit of joy out of proceedings. But all said and done, they haven't got the points. They didn't get the requisite amount of goals, but they had those situations. But from memory, Alisson, I can't remember anything too extravagant Alisson had to pull off, really. Probably the save from Barnes where Ewan's mentioning there, where Barnes burst through, and it was one of the few occasions that he really backed himself. I think he should do it more, Harvey. He hesitated, he slowed down on a couple of occasions up against Trent Alexander and Arnold, and he's given Arnold the opportunity to nick the ball off him. If he really goes at him, Arnold's not a natural defender. He gambles. And Barnes could have really gone at him. He's not a jinky, tricky winger, is he? He's direct, pacey, forthright, and just go out, test defenders out. He got past, I think it was Matip on this occasion. Matip was trying to snap at his heels, which is why he couldn't get the side foot finish. He tried to get the toe poke, I think, through Alisson's legs. But, again, small margins. But, ultimately frustrating. I can feel the frustration in myself as I'm talking now, because it might have only been a point out of the game, but that would have been a very positive point, against a club like Liverpool, and just helps things going forward, doesn't it? But having said that, they'll take a little bit of belief and confidence from that game tonight into the game against Fulham.
Tony's been in touch. I thought Samari had his best game and was close to being Leicester's man of the match tonight. I think if we can bring Jerry back in from Anfield as well, because there's one area that we need to talk about, of course, and that was what ended up being the match-winning areas, the 2 own goals from Wout Faes. Dave's been in touch as well. He's been in touch and he's asking the question, what's going on in terms of listening to the goalkeeper's calls? He says, isn't this basic football?
It is.
So, Jerry, obviously you said we can analyse the own goals as much as we like tonight, and no doubt we're going to talk about them.
Yeah.
But let's get down to the basics of why they happened, especially that first one.
Okay, look, let's rewind just before that. Daniel Amati puts a ball out for a corner when Danny Ward should catch it. The ball's going straight into his arms again. I don't know whether or not Danny Ward's called for it. You can't tell from up in the heavens here. But that was a warning. That was a shot across the bow straight away. But between your keeper and your 2 centre halves in particular, you have to be absolutely spot on with your communication. Now you fast forward to the Wout Faes incident. Exactly the same things happened. Where either there's no communication, or the 2 centre halves in both instances haven't listened to the keeper's instructions. So that's a major issue for me. Now, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors or on the training pitch, but surely, I know players don't talk as much as they used to on a football pitch, but if you're the keeper, you have to command your box. That's rule number 1. That is your box. And if you want that ball, you have to make it yours. Either by coming out and taking everybody out of the game, or by screaming at the top of your voice, insisting that the defenders leave the ball. I can't honestly say, hand on heart, what happened, but it seems to me that there's either a miscommunication between the 2 centre halves and the keeper, or no communication at all. If that's the case, then that needs sorting out ASAP.
Is there one person who's meant to take control of that situation, Matt?
Well, in an ideal world, it's the goalkeeper, as Jerry mentions there. An early shout sorts it out. The old adage that you might be too young to remember, Lewis. But and it's right though. I get the feeling from what happened, the way I saw it visually, as Jerry says, it's hard for us to sort of surmise really, because you can't hear it audibly. But for me, the goal, definitely, not necessarily the Almaty incident, maybe come back to that in a minute. The goal, it smacked to me as if Danny Ward had called, perhaps a little bit later than he should have, ideally, but within enough time for Vass to make the decision to leave it if he wanted. But to me, it seemed like the shout wasn't a bellow. It wasn't convincing enough to make Vass think, hang on a sec, I can just leave this. And I think he was sort of not in a little bit of doubt. I think there was a slight moment where he's probably mulled over, what shall I do? And then he thought, right, I'm going for it. Better safe than sorry. Ended up the wrong decision. So I don't know. That's the way I read it, interpret it. I might be way off the mark. I don't know, but sometimes, obviously, without even hearing it, you can see visually that the goalkeeper is forcing the issue in certain scenarios, and I didn't see that there. But I'm sure Danny will say, look, I shouted loud enough early enough. I don't know, communication issues. Wout Faes, albeit Belgian, he speaks very good English, so I don't think that would be an issue. Sometimes it can be just a split second if it's not your native tongue, and for some players. But I don't think that's the case in this instance. Daniel Amati, I think it was probably a little bit similar. Or I think it seemed to me like the shout for more was maybe a little bit later than it was with the fast one. And by the time it was too close to take any sort of gamble. But it should have been sorted out later on. For me, the goalkeeper needs to take charge and dominate his defenders.
Ewan, of course, that equaliser was a shock to the system for Leicester, who had really been in control in the first half up until that point. And then comes the sucker punch of that second one. How did you see the second goal for Liverpool?
There's not many teams that will go to Anfield and restrict Liverpool to one half-hit effort on goal in 35 minutes. Just going back to the first goal, Lewis, and Sky TV, they have got proof and evidence that Danny Ward did scream Wood Fast to leave the ball. I don't know the time span between the shout and the ball being sort of shanked into the back of the net, but there was a clear shout from Danny Ward, and Fast has obviously just taken responsibility in his own hands to clear the danger. I mean, I'll look at it even closer. You look at where the ball's come from. You look at Trent Alexander-Arnold. We know he's got great delivery. You give him time and space, and he'll put a ball on a sixpence for you. Could Lou Thomas? Could he have got to him slightly quicker and made him put his head down and maybe not put such a dangerous ball into the penalty box, which caused the first own goal? The second own goal, I mean, it's one of those. He doesn't sort his feet out quick enough. He knows he's under pressure. He knows Mo Salah is breathing down his neck. But how on earth does Nunez get the amount of space down Leicester City's right-hand side? When the initial move breaks down for Leicester down their left-hand side, in and around the halfway line, and there's one through pass for Nunez. Where's Timothy Castagne? He's been caught far too upfield, which means that there's a massive space, and Daniel Martin's got a huge problem with Darwin's pace. And as I say, that once it didn't look as if he was going in when he first took it, came off the post, and he sort of got to the ball slightly early. He was sort of standing over the ball, and what he's tried to do only he can explain. But I do think for the second goal he slightly panicked because he knew that Mo Salah was ready to put the ball in the back of the net.
Interesting to go back to Jerry on this, because Jerry was talking earlier about how from the position they had from the commentary box, it very much is a game where you can see the strategy, you can see the tactics because you are so high up. So Jerry, that second goal, Ewan's alluded to there about how Leicester looked like shape-wise it was a little bit all over the place. Could you see that clearly from your perspective?
Regarding that incident, and then the other incident in the second half, there was another incident in the second half where Nunez should have hit the target at least with a volley. And in certain instances, and I'm not just picking Daniel Amache, but he doesn't read the danger signs. Now, I'm not saying Timothy Castagne isn't at fault, but he might have been in a forward position. I can't really remember. There was so much that happened tonight. It's hard to try and pick out one incident and go through it all the way Ewan has. But for me, the biggest thing is when the ball is in the opposition's half, at times Leicester's defenders don't read the danger signs. Don't look at Nunez and go, well, what's he doing standing on his own? Why is he standing on his own, 10 yards, 15 yards away from me? One ball could, one decent ball from Alexander-Arnold or from Thiago, could slice us open. And that's exactly what you've seen. And so there was little instances like that there that just crept into Leicester's play. That need sorting out. When the ball's in the opposition's half, you need to be switched on as a defender. You need to be looking at the danger areas. Where can they hurt me? Where can Nunez? Where can Salah hurt me? And at times they didn't do that. And that's how that second goal came about, because he was given far too much time and space, as Eunice said.
So we've looked at some of the defensive issues for Leicester City tonight. Let's take a look at the attacking side of the game, because Leicester did have a lot of the ball in Liverpool's half. Karma's been in touch saying, we missed Madders again. We needed his skills in the final third. Talking about James Maddison, of course, and Leicester are always going to miss a player of James Maddison's quality. What we saw tonight was the offside flag going up a fair number of times. We saw it in the second half where Harvey Barnes hit the bar, didn't we? Does James Maddison bring that kind of sense of timing, maybe perhaps, and maybe more in sync with those players going forward? Yeah,
it brings that extra creativity without a doubt, doesn't he? In different forms, whether it be in advanced positions or deep, linking up the midfield and the forward line. But also gives. It's a wonderful saying in hindsight. We can have conjecture about how Maddison would have played and would have affected the play. But quite possible, that he comes in, whether he's playing on the right-hand side or in the number 10 role, whichever formation Leicester would have employed him with. But also, he will link up, and as he's receiving the ball, then the Liverpool rearguard would drop off as well. So they would give you also that sort of extra space and depth from Liverpool's defensive line to slide those balls through, rather than perhaps playing them a little bit earlier, where the centre forwards, the back four of Liverpool was squeezed up high, playing that offside. Like Vardy, struggling just to check their runs a few times, weren't they? And Barnes on occasions, and Perez even at times. But if you've got Maddison in there who plays the ball into the space between midfield and attack, Van Dijk, Matip, there's trouble, drop off, and then there's space to go and play, and perhaps develop things from there. But listen, we're talking ifs and buts. Maddison might have played tonight and had a poor game. You don't know, but more often than not, he produces, doesn't he? Certainly, Leicester could have done with him this evening, and he might have added that extra touch. Yeah, because they weren't a million miles off, were they, Leicester? I've just seen the stats there. Stats suggest generally that Liverpool were comfortable enough in terms of amount of shots at goal and possession. It doesn't always tell the real tale, does it? Big chances with 3 each. I don't know if I suppose they're including their goals there in that. I don't know if they were big chances or not, but you look at it, there wasn't much between the teams really, and I suppose Liverpool will say, okay, we weren't at our best, but we did enough, which is true ultimately. But Leicester, from their point of view, think what could have been there, and possibly should have been. They should have probably got something out of that. That's probably why tonight, as opposed to Boxing Day, we're going into the finer details of Leicester's game, because there were those real minor issues. Yeah, exactly. And in a roundabout way, that's not such a bad thing, because we're nitpicking a little bit. Boxing Day against Newcastle, we wouldn't have enough time in the show to go through all the things that were wrong. So some of them have been not eradicated, but they've certainly been improved upon from that game to this. But I think the points that certainly that Ewan makes there, and Jerry, I think they're all relevant as well. But there are little minor things, but minor things can have big consequences, as we see. But you've got to be doing your job constantly. You can't do it 9 times out of 10 and think, I'll just take it easy on this one, this level, pay the price. But encouraging signs from Monday, that's for sure.
Interested to go back to Ewan on the offside situation tonight, because a man who I'm sure hated seeing the offside flag at any given moment, and the frustration that comes with that, and the Leicester players would have felt that frustration tonight, because that offside flag was coming in some really good situations.
Lewis, I was born offside. I was born offside. It is a hard one, because there's that eagerness that you, especially when you've got pace, and Leicester have got forward lads who are quick, who have got that yard of pace, that first 5 yards, which is crucial, which we saw with Nunez on more than one occasion. But I think the margin for error when you're playing against a back four that are so high up the pitch, you haven't got the space maybe that you need to make that bended run to make sure that you are onside. And it is small margins at times. I mean, back in our day, you'd get away with it, but now it only has to be your hand and you're offside. And sometimes you've made your run, and there's a split-second delay from the man who's on the ball, feeding you the ball to put you through, and it only takes that split second to delay that pass, and you've been caught offside. It is small margin. It really, really is. And I'm just, Jamie Vardy, he knows he doesn't need to go too early, because he's as quick or as quick as any defender in the Premier League. Harvey Barnes the same. Patson Daka, we know he's very, very quick. But I say it's very, very hard to time your run when you're playing against a back four that were playing so high up the pitch as Liverpool were tonight.
I think small margins is a fair way to sum things up for today, as Leicester lose at Anfield against Liverpool in the Premier League. Thanks to Jerry Taggart and John Dunn at Anfield, bringing you commentary here on LCFC Radio. Thanks to Ewan and Matt as well for their time. Let's take a look at what's coming up in the coming days here on LCFC TV, as Leicester City look to get themselves back to winning ways against Fulham. That is the next game, and you can find us on Tuesday for that live coverage from 6:45. But before that, Extra Time is with you on Monday, taking a look back at tonight's game, and available now at any time. You can enjoy Leicester's The Place, Robert Huth in conversation with Jerry Taggart and Matt Elliott. So thank you so much for joining us on LCFC TV. Not the result that Leicester City wanted, but they will be looking to put things right against Fulham next time around. We'll see you then.